This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so today's topic is infective endocarditis, which is nothing but infection of endocardium. Which is the inner lining of the heart. Okay, so coming to contents, definition, epidemiology, classification, pathogenesis, clinical presentation of infective endocarditis, diagnosis, complications, treatment, and prophylaxis. So it is defined as in microbial infection of the endocardial, that is endothelial lining of the heart. Okay, the vegetation is a variably sized amorphous mass of platelets and fibrin in which abundant microorganisms and scanty inflammatory cells are enmeshed. Okay, that is called as vegetation. Okay, this definition is from Braunwald's heart disease textbook. So this is the pathological picture of endocarditis, macroscopic picture. See how inflamed it is. Again, inner lining of the heart is inflamed. The characteristic pathological lesion is called vegetation. Okay, if you see here, it is the thickened ones are vegetations composed of platelets, fibrin, microorganisms, and inflammatory cells which are enmeshed into this fibrin platelet network. So coming to epidemiology, incidence is difficult to ascertain because it varies depending upon the location and the incidence of congenital heart disease. Okay, it may vary from place to place. It is more prone, children are more prone if they have congenital heart disease for infective endocarditis, much more common in males than in females. May occur in persons of any age, but increasingly common nowadays in elderly as well. Mortality ranges from 20 to 30%. So classification of infective endocarditis is classified into acute and subacute. In acute, it affects the normal heart valves, rapidly destructive form. It is metastatic. The foci of the vegetations can metastasize to different parts of the body, including brain. Commonly, the vegetations are infected by Staphylococcus aureus. If not treated, usually it is fatal within 6 weeks post-infection. The subacute form often affects damaged heart walls, means that is pre-existing damaged heart walls are present, means it is more common form of presentation for infective endocarditis subacute. Indolent nature means it is very difficult to ascertain when actually the problem started, and it is very difficult to diagnose the problem also. If not treated, usually fatal by 1 year. Coming to pathogenesis, altered heart wall surface is a nidus for this vegetation formation. Animal experiments suggest that infective endocarditis is almost impossible to establish unless the valve surface is damaged. So when the usually valve will get damaged, when we have some regurgitant lesions or some shunt going through across between two chambers with the high pressure difference, so that the endocardium will get damaged, the endothelial lining will get damaged, then platelets and fibrin will get deposited there, which is a rich nidus for infestation by these bacteria. So damaged or altered heart valve surface is the nidus for infection. Deposition of platelets and fibrin will occur subsequently, that is called as non-bacterial thrombotic vegetation, NBTE. Means there will not be initial bacterial deposition in it, subsequently bacterial deposition will start, but initial platelet and fibrin deposition is called as non-bacterial thrombotic vegetation. Bacteremia attaches once bacteremia occurs following this, like some dental procedures or some IV injections which is not properly cleaned. Okay, surfaces are not properly decontaminated, then bacteremia can occur. These bacteria can deposited over this get deposited over this platelet and fibrin deposit network, which which will be converted by more fibrin. Okay, there is formation of more fibrin following bacteremia and protected from neutrophils. There will be division of bacteria within this vegetation, which then finally it forms a mature vegetation. Hemodynamic factors. Bacteria colonize more likely to occur around the lesions with high degree of turbulence, that I said no already. Between there is a high turbulence between two chambers with some communication between them. Okay, so there is with around the small VSD, valvular stenosis, high pressure differences also will be there, and high degree of turbulence also will be there. So the endothelial lining is high likely to get damaged. Large surface areas, low flow and low turbulence are less likely to cause infective endocarditis, such as large VSD. So large VSD, there will not be much pressure difference between the two chambers of the heart, and there will not be much turbulence also. So then there will not be much damage to the endocardium. So less chances of formation of infective endocarditis. So this is the one. If you see in the picture A, this is the endothelial lining. Here if you see endothelium got damaged, there is no endothelial cells. This is the subendothelial matrix. Actually once this this endothelium got disrupted, subendothelial matrix is a rich nidus for platelet and fibrin adhesion. Okay, this is called as, we already told it as non-bacterial thrombotic endocarditis vegetation. So this, what will happen following this bacterium? See, these are all bacteria. Yeah, they are coming and they are getting deposited in this, following which all the inflammatory cells like neutrophils, monocytes are getting deposited inside, and they are releasing cytokines from this. Okay, this is the one. See here, the activated endothelial cell means once the lining again starts reforming, there can be some remodeling changes, but not much. Okay, this is the mature vegetation. Transient bacteremia occurs which are when a heavy colonized mucosal surface is traumatized, like dental extraction, periodontal surgery, tooth brushing, tonsillectomy, operations involving the respiratory tract, gastrointestinal or urinary tract mucosa, esophageal dilatation, and bariatric surgeries and biliary tract surgeries. Sites of infection. Most commonest site is the aortic valve, more common than the mitral valve. Aortic valve vegetation usually will be on the ventral aspect, that is on the ventricular aspect of the valve. Okay, it is not towards the aortic aspect because it is more exposed to the turbulence, the ventricular aspect of the aortic valve. All three cusps get usually infected or affected. Perforation or dysfunction of the valve is the important side effect or complication. Root abscess can occur around that aortic root. There can be formation of root abscess. Mitral valve, there will be dysfunction by rupture of chordae tendineae. Okay, rupture of chordae tendineae will occur. So this is the heart valve. This is the ventricular aspect where chordae tendineae is getting attached. Okay, so if you see here, bacterium is getting deposited over this platelet and fibrin network, following which inflammatory cells are coming here. Okay, neutrophils, phagocytes. Further, there is deposition of again further platelet and fibrin plate meshwork, which leads to mature vegetation. We already discussed this. Turbulent blood flow will cause traumatized endothelium. What are the clinical manifestation of infective endocarditis? Fever is the most common symptom or sign. Anorexia, weight loss, malaise, night sweats. Okay, weight loss is one of the important manifestation. Night sweats, prolonged fever will be there. Heart murmur, because already underlying congenital heart disease with some shunting is present within the heart. Petechia on the skin, conjunctiva, oral mucosa. Okay, splenomegaly. Petechia are nothing but this vegetation, small vegetation which will get deposited here. Platelets and all these depositions will come deposit for the skin, conjunctiva, and oral mucosa. Splenomegaly. Right-sided endocarditis is not associated with peripheral emboli, but pulmonary emboli can occur. Okay. Left-sided means there will be systemic emboli. See, the clinical manifestation varies from fever, which is more common, 80 to 95% cases, to chills, night sweats, anorexia, weight loss, malaise, dyspnea, cough, stroke, headache, nausea bar vomiting, myalgia, arthralgia, chest pain, abdominal pain, back pain, confusion. Fever, murmur, changing bar new murmurs, and neurological abnormalities, embolic events, splenomegaly, clumping, peripheral manifestation, Osler's nodes, splinter hemorrhage, petechiae, GNV lesions, and retinal lesions. So some of them are Osler's nodes is very important, splinter hemorrhages are important, and petechiae, GNV lesions, and retinal lesions are important. Okay. So petechiae, if you see here in the posterior aspect of the palate, that is around the soft palate, there are small petechiae which are non-specific. Here if you see, there are splinter hemorrhages which are non-specific. Osler's nodes, these are painful, more specific for infective endocarditis. They are painful and erythematous nodules. JNV lesions, they are more specific and non-painful. Okay, JNV lesions are non-painful. Osler's nodes are painful. How to make the diagnosis? Diagnosis is depend on Duke criteria. In 1994, a group at Duke University standardized criteria for assessing patients with suspected endocarditis, which include predisposing factors, blood culture isolates, or persistence of bacteremia, endocardium finding with other clinical laboratory findings. So, modified Duke criteria for diagnosis of infective endocarditis. The criteria are major criteria and minor criteria. In major criteria, microbiological criteria. Typical microorganism isolated from two separate blood cultures. Understood? Typical microorganism isolated from two separate cultures taken from two separate areas of the body. Viridans streptococci, Streptococcus bovis, HASSEC group. Staphylococcus aureus or community acquired enterococcal bacteremia without a primary focus, or microorganism consistent with infective endocarditis isolated from persistently positive blood culture, or single positive blood culture for Coxiella burnetii, or phase 1 IgG antibody titer to Coxiella burnetii. Evidence of endocardial involvement. Okay, new valvular regurgitation, increase or changing in pre-existing murmur is not sufficient to make this. Or positive endocardium, tracheoesophageal echocardium recommended in patients who have a prosthetic valve, who are rated as having at least possible infective endocarditis by clinical criteria. So positive echocardiogram is also a major criteria. Microbiological criteria and echocardiography criteria. Minor comes to predisposition to infective endocarditis that includes certain cardiac conditions and injection drug abuse. Okay. Cardiac abnormality that are associated with infective endocarditis are classified into three groups: high risk group, moderate risk group, low or no risk conditions. High risk conditions are positive previous infective endocarditis, aortic valve disease, rheumatic heart disease, prosthetic heart valve, coarctation of aorta, and complex cyanotic congenital heart disease. Moderate risk include mitral valve prolapse with valvular regurgitation or leaflet thickening, isolated mitral stenosis, tricuspid valve disease, pulmonary stenosis, and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Low or no risk conditions. Secondum, septum secondum, okay, and ASD. ischemic heart disease, previous coronary artery bypass graft surgery, and mitral valve prolapse. Okay, fever is also a phenomenon. Temperature more than 38 degree or 100.4 degrees in Fahrenheit. Vascular phenomenon like petechiae and splinter hemorrhages are excluded. None of the peripheral lesions are pathognomonic for infective endocarditis. Immunological phenomena like presence of rheumatoid factor, glomerulonephritis, Osler's nodes, or Roth spots are actually pathognomonic. Microbiologic findings are positive blood culture that do not meet the major criteria. Serologic evidence of active infection. Single isolates of coagulase negative staphylococci and organisms that are rarely causing infective endocarditis are excluded from this category. So major are microbiological and echocardiography criteria. Minor is predisposition to infective endocarditis and fever, vascular phenomena, immunological phenomena, and microbiological findings. Okay. So Duke criteria, definitive criteria, two major criteria, we will be considering it as presence of infective endocarditis, one major and three minor criteria, or five minor criteria. Pathology for histological findings. When we call it as possible infective endocarditis, is one major and one minor criteria are present, or three minor criteria are present. In rejected, if firm alternative diagnosis is present, and resolution of manifestation of infective endocarditis within 4 days of antimicrobial therapy or less. Okay, so it is not considered as infective endocarditis. Echocardiography, that is transthoracic echocardiography, rapid, non-invasive, excellent specificity but poor sensitivity. Obesity, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and chest wall deformities can hamper the transthoracic echocardiography findings. Transesophageal echo, more invasive. Okay, we have to keep the probe inside the esophagus. Sensitivity is up to 95%. Useful for prosthetic valves and to evaluate myocardial invasion. Negative predictive value of this transesophageal echo is 92%. Means it will, if negative, 92% chances that it is negative. There is no infective endocarditis. Okay. So this is the vegetation. This is the aortic valve. Okay, this is the aortic valve. Here the shining part could probably the vegetation. Here this shining part is the valve with the vegetation. Microbiology is very important since virulence of the infecting organism is a significant factor in determining the success rate of both medical and surgical treatment. If you don't treat the bacteria properly, means treat with proper antibiotic, then bacteria is not going to die, and its virulence also can increase. Okay, so if you take, what are the organisms? Streptococci, viridans, alpha hemolyticus. Okay, for majority in intravenous drug abusers. Okay, viridans groups, bovis fecalis. Staphylococcal coagulase positive, coagulase negative. Gram negative aerobic bacilli, fungi, diphtheroids, rickettsia, chlamydia are very rare, all these things, but commons are streptococci and staphylococci. The essential blood tests are minimum, there should be 3 blood culture from similar time, 3 separate venipuncture sites, 3 separate venipuncture sites, remember this. Obtain about 10 to 20 ml in an adult and 0.5 to 5 ml in case of children, depending upon the age group. Okay, positive results are typical organisms present in at least 2 separate samples. So 2 out of 3 blood cultures, 2 blood samples should be growing same organism, then we will consider it as positive. What are the complications? 4 etiologies. Embolic, local spread of infection is one thing. That is, that vegetation will damaging not only the heart valves but surrounding myocardium also by forming abscesses. And embolic phenomena, if it is in the left side of the heart, systemic embolic can occur. If it is in the right side of the heart, that is right chambers, then it can go to pulmonary embolic. Metastasis can spread to other organs also. Formation of same infection complex glomerulonephritis and arthritis can occur. Local spread of infection, if you see acute Staphylococcus aureus infective endocarditis with perforation of aortic valve. See, this aortic valve cusp is perforated. Here the needle is passing through the perforated aortic valve. Okay, and vegetation. These are all small vegetations over the aortic valve, if you see. Understood? So acute Staphylococcus aureus infective endocarditis with mitral valve. This is the mitral valve ring. See how it got damaged. Abscess extending into the myocardium also. This is all myocardium. This is all the cusp. So cusp got damaged and this infection is getting extended into the myocardium. Okay. Chordae tendineae. These are chordae tendineae muscles. Principles of medical management. Sterilization of vegetations with antibiotic. Prolonged high dose bactericidal antibiotic should be used. Okay, understood. Prolonged means for long duration, like 4 to 6 weeks also it may require prolonged antibiotic. High dose, because there could be slowly metabolizing bacteria due to high density, hence decreases the sensitivity. Bacteria deep inside the vegetations also should die, so we have to give very high dose. And bactericidal, it should not be bacteriostatic, it should be bactericidal drug. Therapy for streptococci or enterococci is determine the minimal inhibitory concentration of penicillin. Then penicillin plus or minus aminoglycoside should be added. Ceftriaxone alone should not be usually given. Vancomycin plus or minus aminoglycoside should be used. HASEC group, cefotaxime or ceftriaxone is sufficient. Okay, these are the organisms in the HASEC. Staphylococci, native valve. If there is native valve means only the already existing natural valve, then it is called as that it should be treated with flucloxacillin plus or minus aminoglycoside. Vancomycin, depending if it is MRSA, vancomycin should be used plus or minus aminoglycoside bar rifampicin should be used. If already prosthetic valve post surgery, if the child get infective endocarditis, then prosthetic valve flucloxacillin plus aminoglycoside plus rifampicin. Or MRSA, vancomycin, aminoglycoside plus rifampicin should be used. Okay, so this is the usual antibiotic therapy for common causes of infective endocarditis. Okay, pathogen penicillin susceptible viridans group streptococcus, streptococcus bovis and other streptococci, and relatively penicillin resistant are streptococci with minimal inhibitory concentration of penicillin more than 0.1 to 0.5. So usually the MRSA, MSSA and HASEC organisms are the commonest organisms. The usually acute therapy will be for 4 weeks followed by 2 weeks of continuation therapy. 6 weeks of total therapy is recommended for patients. Okay, but for prosthetic valves it is definitely for 6 weeks completely. Surgical therapy indications. What are the indications for surgical therapy? Congestive cardiac failure, perivalvular invasive disease, uncontrolled infection despite maximal antibiotic therapy. You are giving maximal antibiotic therapy and there is uncontrolled infection, then it is called as, it is an indication for surgery. Presence of prosthetic valve endocarditis unless late infection. Okay, large vegetation is there which can cause obstruction to the blood flow also, so that is an indication for surgical therapy. Major emboli and heart block, congenital heart block, or following this infected endocarditis, if there is damage to the neuroendocardium, means this blood neural supply to the heart, then with the heart block, then it is an indication for surgical therapy. The hemodynamic status at the time of determining the need for surgery is determines principally operative mortality. Okay, what are the indications and timing of surgery for patient with left-sided native valve infective endocarditis? See, indication is heart failure, that is aortic or mitral valve infective endocarditis with severe acute regurgitation or obstruction causing refractory pulmonary edema or cardiogenic shock. Timing of surgery should be emergently undertaken. See here, with mitral valve infective endocarditis with fistula into a cardiac chamber or pericardium causing refractory pulmonary edema or cardiogenic shock. Emergency timing of surgery is emergency. Aortic or mitral valve infective endocarditis with severe acute regurgitation or obstruction or and persistent heart failure or signs of poor hemodynamic tolerance, then it is urgent. Aortic or mitral valve infective endocarditis with severe regurgitation and heart failure easily controlled with medical treatment, then elective time for surgery should be undertaken. Okay, electively surgery should be taken and electively. Uncontrolled infection, that is locally uncontrolled infection like abscess, false aneurysm, fistula, enlarging vegetation or dehiscence of prosthetic valve, then timing of surgery should be urgent. Persistent fever and positive blood culture for more than 5 to 7 days, then also urgent timing. Surgery should be taken underwent urgently. Infection caused by fungi or multi-drug or resistant organism such as Pseudomonas aeruginosa and other gram-negative bacilli, elective surgery should be done. Okay, prevention of embolism. Aortic or mitral valve infective endocarditis with large vegetation that is more than 10 mm in length after one or more embolic episodes despite appropriate antibiotic therapy, especially during the first 2 weeks of therapy, then urgent this time surgery should be undertaken. Aortic or mitral valve infective endocarditis with large vegetations and other predictors of complicated course like heart failure, persistent infection or abscess, urgent surgery should be undertaken. Okay, isolated very large lesions, like very large means more than 15 mm, surgery may be preferred if a procedure performing the native valve is feasible. Okay, what is prophylaxis? The pathogenesis of infective endocarditis is presumed to involve the following sequence of events, that is formation of a small thrombus on an abnormal endothelial surface. In the pathogenesis we have already seen this. Secondary infection of this nidus with bacteria that are transiently circulating in the bloodstream. Proliferation of bacteria resulting in formation of vegetations on the endothelial surface. Since the occurrence of bacteremia is crucial to the initiation of an episode of infective endocarditis, in theory, it is reasonable to conclude that prevention or promptly treating transient bacteremia can prevent all these above events. Okay. So evidence to support antimicrobial prophylaxis for prevention of endocarditis is weak, but antimicrobial prophylaxis for patients with the highest risk of medical conditions undergoing procedures likely to result in bacteremia with a microorganism that has the potential ability to cause bacterial endocarditis. Okay, so usually the evidence is weak, but still we have to use antimicrobial prophylaxis for certain procedures. Highest risk conditions like prosthetic valve, including bioprosthetic and homograft valves, a prior history of infective endocarditis, unrepaired cyanotic congenital heart disease, including palliative shunts and conduits, completely repaired congenital heart defects with prosthetic material or device, whether placed by surgery or by catheter intervention during the first 6 months after the procedures. Repaired congenital heart disease with residual defects at the site or adjacent to the site of prosthetic patch or prosthetic device. Valve regurgitation due to a structurally abnormal valve in a transplanted heart. Okay, all these are very high risk conditions. Dental procedures. High risk procedures are dental procedures that involve manipulation of either gingival tissue or the periapical region of the teeth or perforation of oral mucosa. This includes routine dental cleaning also. Procedures of the respiratory tract that involve incision or biopsy of the respiratory mucosa. Gastrointestinal or genitourinary procedures in patients with ongoing gastrointestinal or genitourinary tract infection. It should not be done. Procedures on infected skin or skin structures or musculoskeletal tissue. Surgery to place prosthetic heart valves or prosthetic intravascular or intracardiac materials. Okay. Antibiotic regimes for prophylaxis of endocarditis in adults. It is amoxicillin 2 gram per orally 1 hour before the procedure is standard oral regime. Inability to take oral, we have to give it IV. Penicillin allergy, we have to consider clarithromycin or azithromycin, cephalexin, and clindamycin. penicillin allergy and inability to take oral is cefazolin or ceftriaxone or clindamycin. What are the key clinical points? Staphylococci and streptococci account for 80% of the cases of infective endocarditis, with staphylococci currently the most common pathogen. Cerebral complications are the most frequent and most severe extracardiac complications like stroke. Vegetations that are large, mobile, or in mitral position and infective endocarditis due to Staphylococcus aureus are associated with an increased risk of symptomatic embolism. Identifying the positive microorganisms is central to the diagnosis and appropriate treatment. 2 or other blood cultures should routinely be drawn before antibiotic therapy is initiated. When infective endocarditis is suspected, echocardiography should be performed as soon as possible. Indications for surgery include heart failure, uncontrolled infection, and prevention of embolic events. Indications for antibiotic prophylaxis have been restricted to invasive dental procedures in patients with prosthetic valves, history of infective endocarditis, or unrepaired cyanotic congenital heart disease. Okay. So if you take the predisposing condition in children and neonates, rheumatic heart disease, congenital heart disease, mitral valve prolapse, okay, and parental drug abuse and others. Microbiologically, streptococci, enterococci, staphylococcus aureus, and staphylococcus gram coagulase negative staphylococci are the commonest group of organisms infecting in children. Okay, thank you. Understood? This is splinter hemorrhages, JNV lesions, and these are the bacteriums. Okay, CNS complications, acute CNS complications can occur, fever, rot spots in the eye, okay, Osler's nodes, painful. Okay, understood? CR?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we shall leave then. Given attendance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.